how in the world do I trust anything, let alone my intuition?
But once you come to realize that we are both souls and human beings, integrate the two, and humans think. Souls know. We learn by being told that we're separate from each other. There's a me and a you. We turn off our intuitive knowing. You will come to those moments where you notice, I did follow my intuition and it worked out. There's a case where I didn't and it didn't work out. You'll come to know the difference in the knowing within your very soul.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to cultivate your intuition and connect to the wisdom and guidance of the angels, then do we have the show for you. Today I'll be talking with Suzanne Giesemann, my all-time favorite angelic guest, about plugging in and hearing from intuition and spirit at the highest level. So welcome back to the show, Suzanne. Are you ready to shine?
I am, Michael, and that's why I wore my Oh My Stars t-shirt just for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this kind of goes perfectly into the question I was planning to ask, because you got a little bit of red, white, and blue going on. So what I'm curious about first off is, what was your role in the Navy and how much did you operate or not operate on intuition?
Oh my gosh. Well, my role was varied over 9 different tours of duty in 20 years in the Navy. The greatest honor was being a commanding officer of a shore unit, and then special assistant to the head of the Navy, and then aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the head of the whole military. So yeah. Clearly something was guiding me to make good choices. But truth be told, Michael, I had no idea it was intuition at the time. I didn't know that any of us had psychic abilities or could tap into intuition. I certainly didn't know to ask higher consciousness for guidance, but there was just this knowing of what to do and when. In all honesty, a lot of it was self-protective. I don't want to get in trouble by making a bad choice. So today, happily, I make choices that don't come from a place of fear. Yeah.
It's much better. We try to have a policy here. We don't always succeed, but a policy of never make a decision out of fear. Stop, pause, breathe, do whatever you have to do, but not out of fear. Because to me, that closes off that intuition.
Oh, it sure does. It sure does.
So, all right, we're going to go into some fun places today. Yeah, I got to go there. How'd you meet your husband, and did intuition play a role?
Well, no, it was a soul thing. I knew that it was a soul thing the first time I ever saw his picture. I just said, there's something about that man. And so we met in the Navy, and we married after he retired. So he was able to follow me on my tours of duty until I retired. But it wasn't intuition. It was, there's a connection here. I don't know what it is. And clearly, with the way my life has turned, because his daughter, my stepdaughter, Susan, passed, that led me to discover my abilities as a medium. I can see how all of this has come together divinely to allow me to help others access the divine.
Forgive me again. Thank you. Forgive me again for asking, what is the difference between a soul thing and intuition?
Oh, good question. No difference.
All right. So I was looking up intuition before we met today. So I wanted to come fully prepared. And while Webster's and stuff on first brush, we'll call it an immediate decision or knowing without thought. An immediate decision or knowing without thought. The origin, if you dive deeper, is to be fully connected to spirit.
Yes. And so as we talk throughout the show about making decisions, I certainly don't want to advise anybody to make decisions without thought.
Yes.
But once you come to realize that we are both souls and human beings, integrate the two, and humans think. Souls know. So when we can balance thinking and knowing, thinking and feeling, now we're really coming up with choices that come from a much higher place than just thinking things through.
Have you ever still made the mistake? I'm in this beautiful RV. It is an amazing RV. I'm still befuddled by it because the things we thought were exactly what we wanted weren't, but it felt right too. So, and I know Spirit will guide me down a path that may not be the exact right path to teach me a lesson, and which means it was the right path all along. And I'm curious how you've threaded that needle and if you've had those challenges too, where in hindsight, because hindsight's a dangerous game, it seemed like maybe I was thinking too much.
Of course, I make mistakes and continue to make mistakes because we still have to deal with this human filter that filters out the greater consciousness. But I would say it was probably in your case a combination, in all of our cases, really, I don't want to put blame on you, a combination of thinking a lot and overexcitement. So that feeling, that human mania in a good way, that we think this is going to be the best possible thing, and we block out the little voice or my little voice saying maybe you don't want to go that way.
Well, it's interesting because there has been, particularly since we've gotten this RV, the language of the universe, and we'll get there in a bit, which to me is not an actual language. It doesn't come through in words necessarily, but the concept has been easy. And if I had gone down the is this easy road to get the RV, all the generators ran out. You couldn't get one ordered. We had to fly out to get one. They ran out of trucks because they ran out of chips, and on it went. And it was like miraculous each turn that we were able to get it. But it wasn't easy. And now I seek flow. Go, please.
Yeah, no, well, and the signs were there, and why I said, and maybe even my voice, because you and
I heard, I caught you. Yep.
A conversation recently. Maybe you want to tell that story, but because I did somehow, I was part of Spirit's voice whispering in your ear, you might not want to go down that path. And so Spirit speaks to us in many ways, and I completely agree with what you're saying, Michael, because the way I see it is, if you keep hitting a wall,
yes,
stop and reevaluate. If things aren't flowing, there's a reason. And that's the thing that we often learn in hindsight. So when we can bring that awareness into the moment, wait, I am hitting walls. Let me step back and ask, is there a better way, an easier way, an alternative choice?
How do we do that in the moment? So I'm going to go to a really brief example. I'm heading home here. We got to do this beautiful robes course earlier today, and maybe I'll go there later on since it's the day after my birthday. We get to an intersection, and looking at the time, oh my gosh, it's time to get back. I'm new to this area. I'm going to have to kind of gun it off the line to get in my position because of the way the lanes are going together in New England here. And I've got my Tesla, not a big deal. And the light turns green. And I get off of the gas, or it's not even a gas. I call it the giddy up pedal. But I got off of the giddy up pedal instead of on it, and a pickup, full-size pickup, blasted through that red light like it was nobody's business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do we know when to get off the gas?
Well, in that case, that to me feels like an example of, it was so fast. It wasn't your intuition that said, take your foot off the pedal. That was the guardian angel saying, not your time, Michael. Mm-hmm. Okay. Intuition is more of a situation where we are faced with a conscious choice. Was that conscious in that moment, Michael?
Oh, yeah. There was a conscious decision made. I said, I don't feel like doing it. And I heard myself say that, got off of the giddy up pedal.
Perfect. Okay.
Cue the pickup truck. It was like a scene right out of the movie, come barreled right on. I mean, it was red. Wait. Your light goes green. And then he just tore on through.
Perfect. So what you had there is a combination of intuition and, we We call intuition tapping into higher consciousness. Guardian angels are a concept that we use to refer to aspects of consciousness at a higher level. So guardian angels are part of the whole intuition process. So, yay.
So let's go into the intuition process. But before we do that, I'm trying to think of, we've been trying to talk off air about the best way to tackle this. We're in the middle of a, I can hear a book editor from my last book going, you don't want to say that because, at some point soon the pandemic will be past. And I'm like, no, that's not what's happening. But we're in round 4, round 5, who knows what round. And everybody is confused. Do I do this? Do I do that? And there's a culture war. Everybody's completely up in arms. How do we tap in to gain some clarity?
Oh, this is why the pandemic is an opportunity for us to learn and to learn new ways of being in these human bodies. And the choices that we are faced with now are some very critical choices. Like you said, do I do this? Do I do that? I see other people doing this, but I don't want to do that. And people don't know what to do. And this is where I see, Michael, the greatest change in society. When we were younger, we could turn to the news and we could trust it. News was factual and objective. Now we turn to the World Wide Web, where everybody gets to feed in their point of view. Now, the beauty of life in human form is we have 7.5 billion human beings, better said, 7.5 billion lenses through which the greater consciousness can view and experience life. So we're not all supposed to think alike. We all have unique viewpoints. But that's a challenge now when we want to have decisions that propel life in the right direction. But if everybody's putting their unique viewpoints, and it can't be any other way when you have a unique lens on the world, into the World Wide Web, how do we know what the right decision is? And what I've come to learn by communicating across the veil with thousands of souls, with evidence that I'm doing so, that's my key word. There's evidence to validate what we're hearing, is the World Wide Web is great at this level of reality. But Einstein hit the nail on the head when he said no problem can be solved at the level at which it originated. I'm paraphrasing there. So if we can't solve our challenges here, if the answers, do I do this or don't I do this, can't be solved here, then we go beyond the World Wide Web to the cosmic consciousness web of which we're all a part. So we have to step out of our unique role as a divided self and step into awareness of ourselves as the true self, where all of us tap into that sea of all knowledge. Now, how do you do that in an instant? You can't make life-changing decisions in an instant like that. It requires an ability to go beyond human waking consciousness, tap into this greater source, set the story aside, and ask, what is the best action for this soul in this circumstance?
Thank you. We're going to go there on many levels, and I'm actually teaching a class tonight on modern mysticism and on ancient Egypt and the Kabbalion. It's really cool, and we're talking about levels. There's a law of cause and effect down at the lower plane, but there's a different law of cause and effect at a higher plane, because you can rise above what's going on at the lower when you're plugged into the greater mind. You're plugged into consciousness. How did your process of contemplation start, begin, grow, and how much have you gotten to cultivate that in order to hear that higher consciousness better?
Right. Well, when my stepdaughter Susan passed that very week 15 years ago, I knew that if she somehow existed as a soul, which is what I'd heard but had no evidence of that I could contact her myself through meditation. 15 years ago, meditation was a woo-woo thing, much more so than it is now. Not most people didn't meditate, but I began meditating daily. My intention at the time was simply to connect with Susan. But because Susan exists at that higher level, I had to go to that level by expanding my consciousness, simply by sitting quietly with the sole focus of focusing on Susan. I trained myself to expand my awareness. Wow, did I find so much more than Susan. I found realms of reality inhabited by sentient beings. We'll call them angels. We have the realm of the spirit world where all our loved ones can be accessed. And then I experienced adventures in consciousness of even tapping into archetypes and masters. And in brief moments, because it's very challenging for us in human form to hold on to those moments, I tapped into simply being this awareness with no modification whatsoever. And it's from that place, that state, that field where everything else arises that the answers to our questions come. So meditation started out with one single goal, and then because we're tapping into something really wise, we start to access more and more experiences that show us we have a limited nature, but we're so much more. And then you just dive in and it just keeps unfolding more and more.
Thank you. You said something cool right at the beginning that I think we're going to replace the word meditation with permanently. And we're going to have you trademark it. You can own it. It's yours now. And it does have a double entendre, soul focus. You said I dove into meditation with a soul focus. What if that's spelled S-O-U-L? And meditation, we're going to take that word out, is simply to have soul focus every day.
Yes. And you asked how mine evolved. Now, throughout the day, we shift into soul focus. And that's called mindfulness and presence. But a lot of people don't understand mindfulness. What am I supposed to be focusing on while I wash the dishes and go for a walk? You open yourself to the insights of the universe. The soul focus is very different from human's focus.
Where would you have us? And I love this. And the last thing I said before we start, I asked Jessica, can you bring me my stone? Because I take the stone when I have an interview and I say, I send love. I send love. And I run my thumb over this stone and I'm sending love, which is bringing me to a place of connection at a higher, a heartfelt, a logos, a greater mind level.
Beautiful.
How do we cultivate this or do this, or what do you do to remind yourself to stay connected at that soul level?
Yeah, I was going to take off my silly rings today because they don't, well, here I'm in a silly t-shirt, so why do I care? But then I was told by higher consciousness, no, leave them on. And I'm laughing because now I know why. Why I wear this silicone wedding ring is because it reminds me every time I see it, I am one with spirit. This one over here, I found a cheap little wire ring that looks like a wave. And that's to remind me, flow with consciousness. So sometimes I'll wear a bracelet, one of those little rubber ones that have different sayings on them. Because we're conditioned human beings. We operate in automatic. You get up in the morning, do you have a routine? I guarantee you. Boom, 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 boom. If you want to reprogram yourself, start with that first thing in the morning and you'll see how we go on automatic. So I sometimes wake up in the morning and I have my little reminders, but I also say, Spirit, guide every step today. And maybe I'll put the toothpaste on the brush backwards. Ooh. Why? To break the human habits, to remind me I am a soul in a sea of infinite possibilities. By every day putting the toothpaste on this way, I am stuck in a rut. By doing it backwards once in a while, I open myself up to new possibilities in everything I do. And I don't even have to think about it. They just arise.
Which is why both you and I are in an RV, because it prevents us from being, we can get a new RV rut going, but we're continuously faced with new experiences to challenge us to be awake and aware.
Oh, yeah. And you know as well as I do, to drive something that is 60 feet long with the car behind it down a highway, that is a practice in presence.
To say the least. All right. So I've got to geek out on this for just one second. First off, I'm guessing, I could only see it a little bit, Jessica has a almost matching wave ring to you. If it's got the little squiggles in it, she's got that going on. Absolutely. And then when we got married, I got on my wedding ring, I have an Om, an embossed Om for my wedding ring, just a very inexpensive, humble Om. And then on the matching finger, on the other hand, an inverse of the same Om, which is married to Jessica, married to spirit.
Spirit, yes. And we are blessed to have spouses who do not feel threatened by that. Yeah.
It's important. I feel it's important. So, where do we begin? We start with a soul. What did we call it a minute ago? We had soul focus. We start with a soul focus. Maybe each morning we do things a little bit backwards. And I challenge everybody, do one thing differently every day so you're not on autopilot. We have soul focus time. We have reminders around us. What are some other ways that we can call in? And I love your idea to connect with spirit first thing, to ask for a beautiful day. And I would assume that you say something to the equivalent of, for my highest good and the highest good of all, or something even better.
Well, that's kind of lofty, Michael. Mine is actually, please may my lessons be as painless as possible.
Kind, gentle, easy, good. Kind, gentle, easy, good. That's my mantra. I am listening. My lessons come kind, gentle, in the easiest fashion possible.
Yes. And then really what's very, very critical is that we set a clear intention to be aware of our thoughts and to be aware of what our body is telling us at all times. Are they in alignment with our true nature? And our true nature is connectedness and love. So anything, any choice we're going to make, any thought that just comes up from old conditioning that's out of alignment with love and connection, because you've set a clear intention, it's like an alarm goes off. You notice it instead of just reacting to it on automatic. So that intention is clear. You might need to put a big sign up on your mirror first thing in the morning to remind yourself to reinforce that intention. I will be aware of my thoughts and what my body's telling me. And then when you feel that inner alarm, like, oops, I reacted kind of ugly to that guy that cut me off. That was human, but I'm more than human. Now you just tune in and say, how can I do that better next time? Forgive me for forgetting I'm love. And you move forward. This becomes a habit. And your whole life changes because what you're radiating changes. We change the conditioning from normal human behavior to behavior that's aligned with our true self. Now you're open, your field is more open to insights, your intuition is just firing.
Woohoo! And that's quite the practice when you're driving the 60-foot vehicle.
Oh, yes. I got to share.
Yes, go for it.
My husband, I've shared this before with people, so some people who know me have heard this, but I was driving our bus one day, and yeah, you know, that's a lot of mass. They don't stop on a dime. And somebody cut me off. Oh my gosh. Well, Michael, I made a gesture.
No.
And my husband's in the passenger seat, and he looked at me and he went, yes, she's human.
I cried. I went into New York City years ago, and I was so proud of myself. I could see my Jewish parents proud of me. I was going in to coach a rabbi in New York City many, many years ago. And I'm driving into the city, and I've got like a borrowed Easy Pass to go, through one of the toll things, and it didn't work, and it went red. And so I stopped, and I'm like, do I run into the toll booth? What do I do? I've got the guy laying on the horn, behind me, laying on it. He's in a giant Escalade. Finally, I go through, the alarms go off, and he's still honking at me. And I gave him that same gesture.
Yes.
And then I cried because I had lost it.
Yeah.
And
well, but you noticed that you lost it. And I
yes.
noticed it immediately. And so then as we're driving, Ty's all happy that the spiritual teacher is human. And I said, I embraced that. I didn't feel bad. Yeah, I am human. And maybe and I said to him, I said, Ty, maybe that guy's in a hurry because somebody he loves is having an emergency. Or maybe he's just what. So we can still see from the human viewpoint and the soul's viewpoint at the same time. That's the beauty of this path.
So, and, if we want to really mess with things, it could have been spirit that put that person there to cut you off, to recognize where either your humanness, and you made Ty's day, or where we get to work on. These experiences are all here to teach us, to help us to expand, to help us to grow, and to remember more. Because if you had said just a minute before, I am spirit, I am love, or whatever it is that Suzanne says, then they cut you off, and it might have gone a different way.
It might have, but I do know that it's a fine line to balance that stress of driving those vehicles and remaining. Oh my God,
yes.
Michael, there's a point I'd really like to make. It's a new insight to me that just came up in the last couple of days, and it's so relevant to what we're talking about here, making decisions in the time of the pandemic or any time. What do I do? The right answer truly is within us. Oh my gosh, I just put a video up about the answers are within us, and it's actually kind of funny. But life is not about rolling the dice and the answer could be yes or no. Life is about the evolution of the soul, and it is ever onward, ever upward. If it were a roll of the dice, humankind and all of creation would not have evolved to this point. We are naturally programmed to make the choice that is right action, aligned with love. Knowing that, we shouldn't doubt ourselves, but we do as humans. If you trust that this is a universe that will give you the right choice by tuning into the heart, you are much more likely to make the right choice than the wrong choice. It's not always negative or positive, the roll of the dice. This is a benevolent universe. We come to trust that when we tune in and act on that intuition.
Thank you. So I believe you would agree then that there is no such thing, at least if you're awake and aware, there's no such thing as a wrong decision. It's all on our evolutionary path. It's just that some, as you state in the beginning of the day, some you can have it the easy way or the hard way. It's all going to be growth. It's all set up for your success.
Yes, human beings absolutely learn by trial and error, which is why we ask, may my lessons be as painless as possible. But they don't always have to be through error, but that's the beauty. If you know that I may make a mistake with this, but the universe will help me if I just keep listening and learning, more and more your choices will be those that benefit you. The other thing that I wanted to say about that is that this trust issue here, we don't trust ourselves as humans. So spending time in contemplation with that soul focus is critical to finding that part of ourselves that is not only human. People say, well, I need to make a decision about whether to do this or that at this challenging time. I can't tell you there's one right answer. I, as Suzanne, am a limited aspect of Source. You, Michael, are that. All of us are that. Only by tapping into the greatest limitless aspect of Source can we at least make a more wise decision. So in the meantime, trust what we're able to discern and ask, is this decision sensible and compassionate? Those two things together are a really great litmus test for any choice. The sensible part is a nod to our human side. The compassionate part, a nod to our soul.
Thank you. I love that. I absolutely love that. It falls along into the lines of, we've had Paul Selig on the show many times, and he channels the guides. And the guides are talking about, you go to the upper room, you reinvent yourself to that higher plane, and you listen from the level of the upper room, and you act with prudence. You still look both ways when you cross the road.
Right, right. Yeah.
You mentioned...
And the compassion piece then is, it's not just about me and my safety. This is all of us together. We are interdependent. We are not apart from each other. We are a part of an energetic whole that we may not be aware of while we're in these bodies, but we can certainly access that and experience that when we expand our consciousness beyond waking consciousness.
So let's talk more about that, because I love, this is one of the things that I groove on, is in a sense stepping outside of my story. And even on the highway, watching everything come together, or being in a line and watching things come together, or the phone calls or the invites or whatever, and seeing that there's much more of a cosmic dance going on.
Oh, it's the web. That's that cosmic consciousness web I was talking about. Set that as an intention as well. Not just an intention to be aware of your thoughts every day, but set the intention to be aware of your part of a web that extends beyond the human world to all that is. It takes this is why I love being interviewed by you, Michael, because you have this childlike enthusiasm that I've felt my whole life too. And so when you have that, oh boy, how's the web going to make itself present and aware in my life today? You see the connections, you notice them, and it's just joyous.
Thank you. Going on the terms of joy, I was going to ask, so I have a list of questions in front of me. And when I find it's my favorite interviews, this is one of them. The guest goes to the question before I have a chance to bring it up. And that's when I'm like, thank you. So you brought up, I was going to ask a question, what does heart have to do with intuition? And then you just brought up heart a few minutes ago. So first I must acknowledge, this is cool. Kid in candy store. What does heart, because we're talking about soul, and I guess maybe we need some definitions here, but what does it mean to listen? I'm going to say to listen with our hearts.
The heart, not the pump, but our energetic center is the bridge between the human aspect of us and spirit. So it's when we tune into the feeling, knowing aspects of us that exists beyond the brain, that is our connection to source, even when the brain is no longer operating and returns to dust. When we tap into that, which is always and already a part of our true nature, then we're going to choose right action in most cases.
Thank you. You started 15 years ago communicating with angels, communicating with spirits. I, in my automatic writing many years ago, started cultivating the same thing. It is out of that process that I started in that my intuition blew up, expanded, opened up. I wonder if the same has been for you, that communication with the other side opened you up to more hearing and feeling the intuitive side of things.
Well, you used perfect words, blew up. It's just an expansion that just rocks your world. I wish that on everyone. We've turned off our innate intuitive ability. We can use the analogy of somebody who moves to the city, and the first 3 weeks are utter chaos. All you hear are the sirens, the noise. You feel the chaotic energy of all these people around you. You can't sleep at night because you can hear the baby in the apartment next door. But after a few weeks, you don't hear it anymore. But then we learn that we can talk to each other with words, which immediately start to limit our experience here. We learn by being told that we're separate from each other. There's a me and a you. We turn off our intuitive knowing. Oh my goodness, now little kids are tapping into Google and picking up their cell phones in elementary school. So they're not relying on their inner knowing at all now. They just go immediately to technology. Well, that can come back. We turn it back on by turning off the devices and spending time listening, just being. I'm going out in the wilderness next week, 24 hours on my own with a backpack on my back, just so I can turn off the world.
And this is exactly, you again led the witness. I knew, but yeah, I'm, woohoo. I was going to ask you this question. You already answered it. It then makes sense to go out and get lost, doesn't it?
Happily, it's my husband that encouraged me to do so. He's out backpacking right now, Michael. It's his 24 hours in the wilderness. We're glamping and then we go camping.
Yep.
But I said to him one day, I said, Ty, you go out on these overnight trips to sleep on the cold, hard ground. Doesn't it get boring? And he looked at me and he said, Suzanne, I could spend 10 minutes watching a caterpillar walk across a leaf. And I looked at him and suddenly I realized, oh, I'm Miss Spiritual. I spend all this time in meditation.
What does, because I mentioned at the beginning that you're my favorite angel guest. What does communicating with the angels have to do with this?
Angels are the same as we are in that we are all stars, self-luminous lights of consciousness.
For those who can't see it, you've got the shirt on that says, "Oh, my stars."
Yes, oh, my stars. Angels are less limited expressions of consciousness, of source, of awareness. So they have access to greater wisdom than we do when we're in these bodies. So it behooves us when we need some guidance to ask them for help. And there's this strange little agreement we must have made at the soul level before we came here that says, yeah, we're going to let you stumble around a little bit, but the second you ask for our help, we will give it to you. We'll reach in once in a while if you're about to drive across an intersection and a bus is going to come plowing through, or truck. But for the most part, please learn to interact with us. It's why we're here, to help you.
Thank you. What senses, or a lot of people don't get, I now get, you get, and I get visuals, I get words, I get songs. They love giving me songs. But how do angels, spirit, universe, guides, all of this stuff start communicating with us?
Through your intuition. It's just this knowing, I should do that. I need to do that. I just got cut off by my team right there. They said, don't say the should word.
Yeah, I get that one too.
There's never any one answer for what we should do. It's a knowing. It's a knowing. This is the right choice for me now. So they absolutely will use your most fundamental sense. And it's the intuition, your knowing. But the more you tune into them and work with them, then they'll start using your other non-physical soul senses of seeing in your mind's eye, images flashing in your mind of something that's significant that you should pay attention to. When it's off the wall and there's no reason for you to have seen that, that's most likely coming from higher consciousness. Pay attention. They'll snag your attention with something in the outer world. It's a feeling. Set the intention. I will notice the snags from my guides and angels. Then when you get snagged, that billboard just grabbed my attention. Pull the thread and ask, what's the meaning of this? Why did that snag me? And the insights will flow. Just so many ways.
So when you get that snag, I love that. When you get that snag, ask a question. Angels, guides, spirit, intuition, why? And then I imagine, pause, give space for the answer to come to you.
Yes. And that's what you cultivate in those moments of presence. That's what you cultivate by setting the intention. I'm going to be aware of the thoughts. I'm going to be aware of what arises that's out of the ordinary. I'm going to pay attention to how my body speaks to me.
So I flip on the web. I go to my crack du jour, shall we say, because I'm convinced and I've kind of followed a little bit of this up-leveling of consciousness as much as anybody else. I'm going to phrase it in positive terms because I believe humanity has made a choice that we're going to up-level. It's just a rocket ship on the pad. It looks kind of violent at the moment. However, we get on to our crack of choice. We're completely bewildered, frustrated, upset, confused, dazed, and on it goes. Use whatever superlative you want. How do I, in that moment?
Easy.
Yes.
Easy. I went to a practitioner yesterday for a little treatment that I needed, and she was a new doctor for me. And she started to take my blood pressure, and I'd been in traffic. I was a little worried that I wasn't going to be on time, and I said, "Give me a moment to use a little technique here to bring my blood pressure down." And it just came right down. It was a beautiful blood pressure. She said, "What did you just do?" I said, "It was a vagus breath." And she said, "You use that?" There's a vagus nerve, this giant nerve that goes from the brain down through the torso, touching most of the organs in the body in some way. If you press on that, it triggers the body's relaxation response. Now, that's the left brain human side. Let's talk about what that does for us at a soul level. It quiets down the body. The way to do it is very simple. Breathe in deeply and slowly, maybe to a count of 3 or 4. And as you exhale, nice and slowly again, exhale longer than you breathed in. That extra exhalation is putting pressure from the lungs and the rib cage on that vagus nerve. So you're actively taking control of any tension you're feeling and releasing it through activating that relaxation response. So what do you do in the moment? Short answer, a nice slow breath, breathing out longer than you breathed in. Everybody should pause the recording and try it, because if you notice how you feel before that nice breath and after, there is a noticeable shift.
Thank you. So I've taken that breath while you're speaking. My voice is much lower now.
You're
nice
radiating calm energy. Yes.
And now I'm thinking of A Course in Miracles, love over fear. How do I choose love? We go back to this decision. There's peer pressure, there's culture, there's this, there's that.
Huge what you just said, and it's a point that I was hoping we'd get to, so you just did it, Michael. You led into what I wanted to make sure we discuss. The peer pressure. It's huge right now. Do I do this? Do I not do that? Do I wear this? Do I not wear that? Well, the divided self, the separate self, the ego, the part of us that's a story, worries what other people think. The soul knows what is the right choice. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, what do other people think? You're not accessing your inner wisdom. So that's just another little point there of how we can be aware what our body's telling us. Are we in a place of fear? Are we worried what other people will think? What are our thoughts telling us? Hugely critical to be aware.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to the T word you used earlier. Trust. Suzanne, I've done this in my life. I'm playing this role here. I've done this in my life. I've done that in my life. All of these things have gone wrong. It seems like no matter what I do, I can't make a right decision. How in the world do I trust anything, let alone my intuition?
Spend the time to go back and visit those moments. Ask your guides, show me how I was not trusting in the moment. Did that lead to making a decision that did not work out well for me? You'll be flooded with insights of how I really wasn't listening. So now ask your guides, going forward, let's make decisions together. I promise to act on it when I feel intuitively this is in my best interest and the best interest of the whole. Write it down. And you will come to those moments where you notice, I did follow my intuition and it worked out. There's a case where I didn't and it didn't work out. You'll come to know the difference in the knowing and the feeling within your very soul, and it'll become a way of life just to act on it.
Thank you. There's a term from Ram Dass that I've stolen over the years, which is to snuggle up with. And so what you're saying is we snuggle up with those decisions that didn't work out, but we can snuggle up with our team. We don't have to go it alone. Snuggle up with and really take a snow globe out of your life and start to examine it from all aspects without judgment.
Without judgment. And that's what we were talking about earlier. We humans, we absolutely learn by trial and error. If you're just going to beat yourself up, you're not learning. Learn from your lessons and say, well, here we go again, human mode. We'll do better next time.
Very, very good. Thank you. There was a point that I wanted to make, and I want to see if universe chases me down to come back to it. We've got trust. We've got fear. We've got confusion. We've got
anger at each other.
Yeah.
That just bubbled up out of nowhere. It wasn't even on my things I thought we were going to talk about. But anytime you feel it in yourself or you see it in your others, if we can take judgment out of that, from the soul's point of view, you say, oh, there's human nature. Do you see the neutral feeling in that? It gives you understanding that that person is in divided self mode instead of unity self. And you just notice it, send love to the whole situation, and it changes everything.
Well, that's the coolest thing. You went there again. It's perfect. Send love meant you chose a higher aspect. You chose a different way, which actually sending love is literally, as it sounds, there's somebody who's going to get, yeah, I don't know why. I suddenly feel a little bit better. But also you are choosing a higher vantage point, which changes everything.
Doubt. My husband Ty had somebody cut him off. He didn't flip a bird. Good for him. He turned to me and he said, I know. Send love. Send love.
And this is someone who in the past could have sent missiles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Destroyer Captain Husband, yeah.
Yes. What's the one single most important? Well, this is interesting. So I'm seeing, for some reason, missiles came around as now intuitive missiles, that we get intuitive hits. What's the most important thing we get to know? Or if people left here today that you want them to know about intuition or them as an intuitive being?
You go like that, and I want to go like that and say, you're not only human. That's the thing we don't realize. And I have no fear during the pandemic. I don't know if I've made the right choices, but I know we don't die at an essential level because we're not only human. Yes, this physical body will pass. Yes, that would bring pain to those I love if and when this body passes. But I know beyond any doubt from the massive evidence of connecting personally with souls who once walked in a body and are still very much alive after that body no longer works, that there is no death. And so the pandemic to me is an opportunity to learn these lessons. It takes away the fear of death. If there's no fear of the ultimate thing that we're afraid of, then we can just be love and help others find peace and help guide them to make the best decision for themselves and all of us, moment by moment.
Woohoo! Woohooing quietly for the rooster in the other room. I'm going to go there as gently and PC as I can. I remember being in Jersey a few years back. Jessica's healing from mold toxicity. We're getting ourselves back on the feet. This is like 6 years ago. No, 6 years ago. And we're at the gym and we're hearing this song that has it's a minor tone. So you can recognize, if you can step back from it, you can recognize that this is like a dopamine hit of minorness, for lack of a way to put it. And the
That's
song's
really
going,
good.
I'm only human, I'm only human.
I think back to that song all the time. I'll say, well, this song that I heard was "You're Only Human," and I always sing back, "No, you're not."
It's probably that you're only human. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but with that said, and I don't even know what conspiracy is. I don't know how do you define truth? Everything's happening on every level. It's, if you made books on this stuff, it's kind of cool. But to me, there is an energy.
That's it. It's an energy. And conspiracy is an energy of fear. Fear. Several people have sent me these emails. I open them up, and within 2 or 3 lines, it's that energy. You don't have to put a word like conspiracy on it. It's a fear that can be felt when you're aware of what your body is feeling. So with no judgment, I just say, ooh, not buying into that. And I ask, what is the highest truth I can tap into?
So important, because you get that email from somebody who is very well-meaning, well-intentioned, who wants to come from the heart. But I'm convinced this virus that is spread across the web or whatever, of be afraid of that, be afraid of this, remember you're only human, keeps us from being awake and aware. It's almost the yin-yang of, maybe it's a pump, because it's helping us pump upwards as we ascend, but in the moment, it can keep us asleep and make that ascension take apparently longer, because it keeps you from waking up. These stories keep you asleep and in the drama.
Yes. And what it's very helpful to remember is that those who have given credence to those stories are very, very much buying into them. So it's often not even helpful to try to point that out to them. This is when not giving them anything to push back against, going to soul awareness, breathing, sending love, appreciating that is their viewpoint now, and not giving it power is actually a way of helping. It may not seem like it. We feel like we have to do something and teach them the right way. That's coming from a limited viewpoint. When you're in divided self mode, separate self mode, your viewpoint is always right, but it's limited. Stepping back from it, you see that everybody is allowed to their limited viewpoint. Is there a higher, more holistic viewpoint that doesn't have fear at the basis of it?
It's interesting, going right back to the beginning, I was given the visual of a fly and a fly's eye, and that everybody having their limited viewpoint together, if we cannot say this part of the eye is the only right vision, but instead take that holistic total viewpoint.
Your fly visual is kind of ugly, Michael. It's really kind of gross.
Would you rather a bee? Maybe a bee has a honeycomb eye as well. Would that be better?
I love that it's an eye. I get that. My favorite one is, and it's not better than yours. That's human to say mine is better. Just alternate view is a disco ball, because it's a light.
Okay, I love it.
And the disco ball has this one light at the center that goes out through, in our human case, 7.5 billion lenses, all different directions. So if I am the light shining out this way, and this person is the light shining out that way, that is a valid view from that limited lens. But we're not limited. We just step back, sink back into the center of that disco ball and take in the whole view. Wow, that changes everything.
Woohoo. And it means that one beam of light is never going to fight with another beam of light.
How silly is that? How silly is that? And you can see that you're sort of aligned with the lights that are around you, the lenses through which that one light of consciousness is shining. And it makes sense that it's totally opposite of that person over there. So it's Rumi. Rumi's quote, my favorite: out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, let's paraphrase and change it. there is a light of consciousness, a field. He says there is a field. I will meet you there. So once you make the best decision based on your intuition for how to react in a pandemic, in a relationship, in a work situation, based on sensibility and compassion, trust that you've made the best decision, act on it, see how that works for you. You've moved forward or backward, now move forward having learned from that. And that's the process of life.
Thank you. Can we go to our angels? Loaded question. But for compassion toward the self. Because another great quote is from Rumi is, the wound is where the light shines through.
My friend Brenda in spirit came through to me 24 hours after she passed so clearly. And she said, Suzanne, every one of us is walking wounded. You can see the scars in the aura from here. But the ones you work on, they're like little glowworms. Isn't that beautiful, the imagery? Yeah.
That is. We're going to do a meditation in just a little bit. I'm curious, where do people go to find out more about your work and whatever you have to offer? Because I think we all need to become little glowworms at this point.
Yes, it's easy. It's just my name, SuzanneGiesemann.com. And check out dailyway.org, the messages that come from my team of guides every day, over 4,000 of them, and you can get them every day in your inbox for that dose of energy. Every word carries the energy of its source, and this is coming from a source beyond this human world, and they really speak to all of us. So check that out. The gifts page on my website has all kinds of meditations and practices that will help people turn their intuition back on, get that guidance, make choices that are not so painful.
Woo-hoo. I have to be careful when I say this, and you can't convince me otherwise, but I see this as a positive ascension. I see every evolution in what we're going through right now as a shaking away of the old. We've made the choice. We're going to round the bend. It's challenging, but I believe we're going to make it. What's your feeling on this? And are you bullish, positive? Where are you at?
I'm always positive, Michael, because that's who we are. We are expressions of goodness, expressions of a benevolent universe. Anything to the contrary is a limited lens that has become a bit clouded over. The awakening process is about clearing that lens and seeing clearly who we really are. So the ultimate Pollyanna, that could be a judgment. I've simply come to know from stumbling over and over and then learning to listen, really, we are goodness in expression. Hold on to that thought and watch what happens.
Woohoo! Any last words you want to share before we dive into a meditation?
Be easy on yourself and on others. A phrase that my guide Sanaya gave me a while back is, forgive me for ever thinking I was ever anything but love. And any choice we make that is painful to ourselves or others always comes from that mistaken identity as a separate being. Love is lack of separation. When we truly feel connected to ourselves, to each other, to our guides, notice what happens when suddenly out of the blue, you turn to your partner for no reason and you say, I love you. Where does that come from? It's not anything they did in that moment. It is your innate nature as love that suddenly bubbled through the conditioning and you became aware of it and you had to share it. That's always there. If you're not feeling that, ask, show me how to clean my lens. I want my light to shine. I'm looking at my shirt again. Oh, my stars. We are all self-luminous beings because we are expressions of one light of consciousness. We are stars. Let your light shine.
Woohoo! I'm having this vision. Obviously, there's light illuminating illuminating. What is the word for it? Beaming out of you from everywhere. But I'm picturing like from each of the stars you have on the shirt, a beam of light here, a beam of light there. And then I'm picturing the heavens, all these visuals of all these pinpricks of light coming through.
Oh, you've seen those maps where they show where there are literally lights in the world. It's a dark map at night, and the places that are most populated are really bright. My guides have told us, don't be discouraged. You are evolving, all of you. Used to be the dark ages, and they joke and they say now is the dim ages. It's an improvement, okay? We're going for the light ages. And they said that every time any of us respond with love and align with our true nature as connected, unified beings, it turns up the light. It's not just where you are, it's one connected light. And little by little, that grid of light around our earth, the noosphere, some have called it, goes up through our individual, or so we think, actions. So everything you do really does matter.
And everything you do. I was wrong. I used to say the monk in the cave, we need the monk out on the streets. Now, no, you can be in your room, COVID time, whatever time. You can just work on that love inside of you, and that changes everyone and everything as we are not just all love. Oh my God, what a statement. But we are all one.
Yeah, and that phrase means nothing to someone who has not experienced it. So my intention is that everybody spend some time with the intention to know what that really means. How does it feel to be connected, not just to each other, but to this being? That's who we are.
Forgive me, Ty. I love you, Suzanne.
I love you, Michael. Yeah, I think that we're forgiven. I love everybody. That's the fringe benefit of coming to know who we really are.
Woohoo! Yeah. Would you mind leading us in any sort of meditation you feel called to?
I will. And this time we won't have a lawnmower outside the window like the last time I helped you with this. This is a very simple practice, and I love it because, and I will tell you, I have made a video out of this. It's very short, and we've had, 34,000 people are doing it now as a result of that video, and I hope that it goes viral because it's so darn simple and so quick. And in this age of now, I want results, this is going to do it. I call it a sip of the divine. Everybody takes the time in the morning to have a sip of coffee or grab an espresso or even just a glass of water. You can take a minute here and there to have a cup of coffee, right? But how many people say, I don't have time to meditate? Because you think meditation has to take 20, 30, 60 minutes, and we don't have time for that. But if you could just take a sip of the divine every day, your life would be transformed. And in this case, SIP is an acronym because former military people really love acronyms. SIP stands for sit in peace. But we like results. We give a nod to our human nature. And in this case, while we're sitting in peace, we ask one question of higher consciousness. So right away, you're taking this quick sip of the divine to get an answer from that higher level where the answers reside. We say higher, but it's also inner. It's one big web of consciousness. So it doesn't matter what model you use, you're going beyond the human awareness. Yeah. So the process, well, I'll just lead you through it, but it's really just 1 to 3 of those vagus nerve breaths.
Yeah.
Shift your awareness beyond being only human and ask a question of something beyond human. But it's a specific question, and I'll guide you to it. Then you listen, and you do this for 3 minutes. Now, how do you want to handle that, Michael? Do you want to have 3 minutes of silence or just bring you out of it?
No, I love it. It's so uncomfortable for somebody on air to have silence. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm literally going to use my technology and time that 3 minutes, but the 3 minutes doesn't begin until you make the shift. Mm-hmm. And what's so cool is anybody can find 3 minutes to do this. And if you set the intention of doing the sip of the divine every day for 3 weeks, you will have experienced such a transformation that it becomes a habit. We're not even calling it meditation, but this is what it is, a practice in contemplation. So let's do it. All right, so everybody get really comfortable. Doesn't matter if you're sitting or lying, but let's uncross our legs if we're sitting in a chair. And let's close our eyes. And with the intention of slowing down the busy brain, let's take in a nice deep breath, breathing that air into the heart area, nice and slowly. And now let's exhale equally slowly, longer than you just inhaled, pressing with the rib cage against the back of your body. Now let's do it with an intention of totally relaxing. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now just keep breathing. You should feel nice and relaxed now. You should have felt a little shift in your energy. You're feeling calm and relaxed. Now affirming, I trust that I am more than only human, and that I am part of a cosmic web of consciousness that contains any answer that I need. I shift my focus beyond the human reality, and I ask whatever benevolent being has the best and highest answer for me in this moment. Ask this question now. What is it I need to know? For the next 3 minutes, anything other than that answer that pops into your mind, simply let it slip by and focus again. What is it I need to know now? And with gratitude for what was received, whether or not you sensed anything, know that your question was heard. And if you heard or sensed nothing now, trust that insights will flow soon because you asked so clearly of higher consciousness. Send gratitude and love from your heart. Wiggle your fingers and toes and come back. Woohoo. Very, very simple. So simple that people don't think to go there. But the more you go there with that same question every day, it becomes stunning, the answers that you tune into.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Something popped up. I wonder if I can sneak in one last question. Brings everything full circle.
Okay.
We're talking about the RV. And you said, I believe you became too excited. How can we tell if it's excitement and not intuition?
Intuition is a calm knowing. The excitement comes after the decision is made, but it's a joyous excitement and not a, oh my God. There's a tension with that. I know that kind of, oh my God, very, very well. And I've learned to recognize it because what goes up will come down. It doesn't mean we don't get excited. Oh my gosh, I get excited every day. But there's a manic feeling that comes with it, that when you tune into intuition, you recognize the difference. It comes with practice.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been beautiful. I'm totally mellowed out now.
Good.
And there's sun. I haven't seen sun in so long. It's been cloudy here in the Northeast. It's a beautiful, this is the first sunset I can recall in forever, and it's beaming straight into my eye. As somebody who loves to gaze with the sun morning at sunrise, I'm sharing a sacred moment.
Nice.
It's like the perfect time for us to end. So I cannot thank you enough, Suzanne. This has been brilliant. I think this is incredibly, it's an understatement. This is so powerful because so many people have lost their GPS.
That's what it is, the inner guidance system. Yep.
So thank you so much. So got to crank it back up for the finish here. So for everyone out there, out here, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, dive into your intuition, really get still and feel into everything, and begin using that intuition today and shine bright. Woohoo! I just had the most beautiful talk with Suzanne Giesemann on getting centered, going quiet, diving in and learning what's your intuition. Where is that voice coming from? How you can follow it, which literally changes everything. On that note, if you want to change everything in your life, if you want to be in more communion with spirit, 24/7, if you want to hear that voice of spirit, if you want to feel that connection, get awe, the automatic writing experience. This one tool can help you to communicate with the other side. It changes your relationships, it changes your finances, it gives you that internal GPS of where do I go from here. To get awe, you can go to automaticwriting.com, where we have an entire video-based program along with live classes each month. That's automaticwriting.com. Or you can literally go to your local bookseller. Yes, go for the local bookseller or Amazon or whomever. Bring the receipt back to automaticwriting.com and get tons and tons of bonuses as well. Yes, support your local bookseller. And be sure to click that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, and live events with me on mysticism, on intuition, on your angels and spirit guides every Sunday night on YouTube. To check out another amazing show, click here. Love you guys so much. Big thumbs up, comments below, and above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys. Dive into that intuition today.